Hi, third grade. Today we have Module 4, Unit 2, Lesson 3 for our water module. And so you're going to need your workbook today. So if you don't have your workbook with you, will you please pause me and go get it? Because you're going to need to turn to page 63. So I'm going to look for page, so you're going to need page 63, my friends, right here, 63. All right, so today's learning targets have to do with being able to come up with the gist and come up with some understanding some vocabulary from the words around it, any unfamiliar vocabulary, and just being able to figure out what the gist is mostly about. And then today you are going to answer some questions about what you read in the text. So I'm going to read this page for you, and you're going to read along, but then you're going to need to be able to read it again yourself to come up with some answers. So we're going to do the first two paragraphs, and then you'll notice in your workbook, you don't have to do this, but there's a section in your workbook that said paragraphs 1 and 2, what's the gist, any unfamiliar vocabulary, and what those vocabulary words mean. We're going to go through those together. You don't need to write them down, but I just wanted to prepare you for that's where we're going with this. Okay, so again, so it's called Real Lives, Angola, Africa. And then it comes, if you look at the bottom, you can see the source. It came from a 2011 UNICEF article that is used by permission from the EL people. All right. So, growing up in the Angolan village of Mabuya, 1 hour north of the capital, Luanda, Fatima had to spend up to 4 hours each day collecting water from the river. It was a dangerous trek. One year, 7 of Fatima's friends were attacked by crocodiles. But the girls carried a much bigger danger back with them to the village. The water was polluted and spread disease. As a result, when Fatima herself was not sick, she had to spend many hours each week caring for sick brothers and sisters, and when she grew older, for her own sick children. Okay, so let's take a moment just to regroup and think about what the text is mostly about. So what we've learned here is Angola is a place in Africa, and that some people have to travel up to 4 hours each day to get that water, and that water is really dirty, which causes people to get sick. That was showed in there. All right. Then some words that I think that we should double check here are, so collecting water. That means to gather it, right? To gather the water. So she has to go and get it. So to bring it back, she has to get it. It was a dangerous trek. One year, some of them friends were attacked by crocodiles. So trek, she has to walk up to 4 hours each day. So trek must have to do with traveling to get somewhere, and that in this case it's difficult and slow. It seems like. Okay, so our gist again is that some people have to travel up to 4 hours to get water, and when they get that water, it still might make them sick. All right, so let's read the third and fourth paragraph. In 2000, the Angolan government and UNICEF teamed up to lay a pipeline from the river to the community of Mubaya. Latrines, wash basins, taps, and showers were then built, together with a filtering system to ensure every drop of water was drinkable. As a result, diarrhea rates dropped almost to zero. Child deaths plummeted, and many girls who no longer had to spend hours every day carrying water entered school for the first time. A community water and sanitation committee now maintains the system and teaches hygiene to the rest of the community. A neighbor of Fatima's, a 13-year-old Selena, is one of those who has started going to school because of the pipeline. Previously, Selena's life had been dominated by collecting water. She had to walk to the river and back 3 times a day. Now she can do her chores in a fraction of the time. And her younger brothers and sisters are healthy, so she does not have to care for them. Okay, so this is a big section here, so let's review about what is this section mostly about. So it seems that the government and this group called UNICEF work together to make a pipeline from the river so they don't have to go to the river. The river can come to the community. The water can come to the community at Mumbai. And now fewer people are getting sick from the water because they have a filtering system. And now, because they don't have to go and get the water and they're not sick, they get to go to school. And they have more time to actually learn things rather than to travel to get their water. So let's look at some of the words. So pipeline, from the river to the community. Okay, so pipeline, you might see that word pipe in it. So a pipeline is a line of pipes for moving something, in this case water, from where it's produced to where it is used. So you could have a gas pipeline, you could have an oil pipeline. In this case, it's a water pipeline. So to move that water to where they need it. And then I was looking through here some words, and I found dominated by her life had been dominated by collecting water. Dominated meaning that it had been overrun, and getting water was all that she pretty much had time for. It was all encompassing. That's kind of a bummer. I was looking through here, and I also found sanitation committee, a community water and sanitation committee. And that might be a great word to look up in the dictionary. Sanitation, because it's a little bit bigger and it's kind of hard because it doesn't tell us what the community, but it says now it maintains a system. It teaches hygiene to the rest of the community. So sanitation has to do with keeping the public healthy by providing clean living conditions. So sanitation, sometimes we think of sanitation workers are sometimes workers who come and pick up trash and things that are that make our community dirty. And so sanitation committee would be then making sure that the community is clean. And another word I saw was previously. Previously, Selena's life had been dominated by collecting water. So previously, you notice that ly in there is our suffix, right? Previous. So pre meaning before, right? So previously, her life, in this case, means before. Before her life had been dominated by collecting water. And so she had to do that instead of go to school. All right, paragraph 5 and 6. Unfortunately, Mambua remains the exception rather than the rule in Angola. Almost 3 decades of war have left millions of people without clean water or basic sanitation. A huge task remains: drilling boreholes across the country, constructing major pipelines, establishing a national sanitation education campaign, and providing water to schools. Fatima may be one of the lucky ones, but the facilities she and her children and Selena now have are not a luxury, but a necessity and a right. A mother must take care of her children, Fatima says, but we cannot do that when we have only dirty water. So let's look at what the gist is here, and then we're going to talk about point of view. Definitely of the author and some of the characters here. They definitely have a point of view that probably is different from ours. All right, so let's think about what we've got going here. So Mambua remains the exception rather than the rule. So in other words, the clean water they're getting is unlikely in other places. So some parts of Angola still do not have clean, safe water. And clean, safe water is a necessity and a right that everyone should have. That's the statement here for sure. So what does necessity mean? Well, we can kind of look at necessity and break it into parts and know that necessity sounds a whole like necessary, things that we must have, something that's needed. And it says, and a right. A right is something you're allowed to do or have because of nature or because of the law. So we know when we talk about things that there are rights and privileges, but a right is something that everybody should have access to. All right, so we've gone through a little bit of what the gist of each section is, and we've looked at some unfamiliar vocabulary. And so that was this section here. You do not need to fill that out. We can just assume that we kind of did that together. But you are going to look at pages 66 through 68. And I know there's a lot of lines here, there's a lot of writing here, but I know that you guys can do this. So part of it, a big section of it, is actually this glossary. So look at page 66. So they've told us what a community is. It's a particular area where people live. Conifer is a community. System, a group of related things or parts that work together as a whole. So in this case, Mrs. Harrison has a system about how we do certain things in the room. There's a way that things work together so that happens. Ensure, to protect or make safe. That was Mrs. Harrison wants to ensure that you are healthy and safe. Sanitation is the study and practice of keeping the public healthy by providing clean living conditions. Sanitation includes removing trash and keeping drinking water clean. So that's a big definition right there. That's why I said that one would be a great dictionary one. Previously, earlier, before, something that happened, because that pre tells us it's before. Dominated, controlled, something it was in charge of her life before. Unfortunately, it's causing something that's difficult or harmful, a condition. Establishing, bringing into being, starting. When I establish a routine, then we bring it back, we bring it to happening, and we have it happen all the time. So you have some questions here. I'm going to read them, and you're going to answer them, not with me, because you might need to go back and reread. So the first question says, reread the second paragraph. What does the phrase "as a result" mean? What words in the text make you think so? Add this phrase to your vocabulary log. We're not going to do that. You can cross that part out. So find out "as a result" and tell me what you think that means based on the text. Number 2, what happened as a result of the pollution to the water Fatima and her friends gathered each day? What happened after that they got that water? Then number 3, reread the third paragraph. What did the Angolan government and UNICEF do to help them? Go back and reread. Number 4, what happened as a result of their help? So once this happened, what was the result? What happened next? What do you think the author wrote? Why do you think the author wrote this text? What is the purpose of Real Lives Angola, Africa? And what is the author trying to answer, explain, or describe? So think about, why are we reading this? Why would an author write about it? And why would we read it? And how is that going to change anything? So think about that. What is the purpose of somebody writing this? Are they writing it for fun? Are they writing it to inform? Are they writing it to share their opinion? Think about all those possible reasons why we write. And number 6, what does the author of this article think about people's access to clean water? What in the text makes you think so? So if you think about point of view, that's what this is about, my friends. What is the author's point of view about how people should have clean water? And I think it was made pretty obvious in the last paragraph. If you go back and read that last paragraph, it's going to tell you about how that author feels about clean water and how important it is. And you can list some evidence there about what in the text makes you think so. And the last one says, reread the last paragraph and underline the sentence that best expresses the author's point of view on worldwide access to clean water. So when you were doing this one here, you are probably going to find a sentence that is really hitting home and telling you what the author's point of view is. So underline that sentence. You don't have to write anything right here. Okay, so what I would like you to do then is once you're finished with 66, 67, and 68, you can quickly take a picture of that with your Chromebook and upload it to this assignment. And then you will just make sure that you can see the picture clearly so that I can see the picture clearly. And then just go ahead and upload it to the assignment so that I can see your work. All right, my friends, this was a long one. I'll talk to you later.